Think of a place where you have everything you want. No aging, no pain, and no consequences. Just limitless indulgence. Now imagine wanting to trade it all for a single day of human suffering, just to feel like you're actually alive. This is the predicament of the minstrel knight Tannhauser. He has spent years inside the Horselberg, a mythological cavern hidden deep within the earth, living as the mortal lover to Venus. But the indulgence has become a prison. Tannhauser is exhausted by perfection. He begs Venus to release him so he can experience the changing of the seasons and the heavy burdens of mortal life. Furious at his rejection, Venus warns him that he will find only hatred and scorn among humans. But as her magic threatens to pull him back under, Tannhauser calls out to the Virgin Mary. To break the goddess's hold, Tannhauser didn't rely on his own strength. He called on a name that represented the very purity Venus rejects. The moment he speaks it, her world dissolves. In a sudden crash of reality, the dark cavern is gone. Tannhauser finds himself in a sunlit valley, breathing fresh air. Almost immediately, he is discovered by his old companions, the Landgrave, and a hunting party of minstrel knights. His first instinct is to run. Tannhauser knows he is returning to a strictly pious society, one that would never understand where he has been. The knights try to persuade him to stay, but he only stops when they speak a specific name. They tell him of Elizabeth, a noblewoman whose heart has been broken since he left, and who still waits for him. Hearing her name anchors him. The memory of Elizabeth pulls him out of his exile and back into the sacred world, setting his two conflicting lives on a direct collision course. Back at the Wartburg court, the reunion between Tannhauser and Elizabeth is intensely emotional. She believes his return is a miracle, a direct reward for her constant prayers. To celebrate his return, the Landgrave convenes a grand tournament of song. The region's finest minstrel knights gather in a massive hall to compete for the ultimate prize, Elizabeth's hand in marriage. The theme of the contest is announced. The singers must use their art to define the true nature of love. Wolfram and the other knights describe love as a purely spiritual, chaste devotion, a distant star to be worshipped but never touched. For Tannhauser, this is unbearable. He listens to these sterile descriptions of romance while his own mind is still burning with the physical reality of Venus. Finally, he snaps. Tannhauser interrupts the tournament, mocking the timid inexperience of his peers. He grabs his harp and sings a defense of physical pleasure, openly declaring that true love can only be found in the arms of Venus. The confession is social suicide. The court is horrified by his blasphemy, and the knights immediately draw their blades to kill him where he stands. But Elizabeth throws herself in front of the weapons. She shields the man who has just humiliated and devastated her, begging the court to give him a chance to repent. Tannhauser realizes he has ruined everything. In absolute despair, he joins a band of pilgrims heading to Rome to beg the Pope for forgiveness. Tannhauser tried to live in both extremes, the profane truth of his past and the sacred rules of his present, and the resulting collision has stripped him of his home, his reputation, and the woman he loves. Months pass in silence. Elizabeth and Wolfram wait by the valley path for the pilgrims to return from Rome. When the procession finally arrives, Tannhauser is not among them. Accepting that he is lost, Elizabeth slowly walks away, solemnly consecrating her remaining life to heaven. Only after she is gone does Tannhauser finally appear. He is a starving, exhausted figure in rags, stumbling out of the forest a broken man. He tells Wolfram the truth of his journey. When he reached the Pope and confessed, the pontiff condemned him. He declared that Tannhauser could no more be forgiven than the dead wooden staff in his hand could sprout fresh leaves. The highest earthly authority had spoken. Denied mercy and confirmed in his damnation, Tannhauser has nowhere left to turn. In his final moment of despair, Tannhauser calls out to the mountain. He attempts to summon the profane world, ready to surrender his soul and return to Venus forever. But Wolfram intervenes. He shouts Elizabeth's name, breaking the goddess's hold just as a funeral procession approaches, carrying Elizabeth's body. Tannhauser collapses beside her, his life fading away. At this moment, a second band of pilgrims arrives from Rome, carrying news of an impossible event. Overnight, the Pope's dead staff had begun sprouting fresh green leaves. God had granted the very mercy the Church had declared impossible. But this ending is a shift from the original medieval folklore. In those older legends, Tannhauser is never forgiven. He returns to the mountain and is lost forever. Richard Wagner changed the tragedy into a story about a second chance. He proved that no matter how deep the sin, the path back to a meaningful life is never truly closed.